Welcome back to Still Processing. My name is Mindy Dean, and I am reading my book, 23 Ways to Leave. Today is an emotional chapter, and I really just appreciate you being here with me on this journey. So here goes. Chapter 4, Leaving the Fear, Trusting that You'll Survive Leaving. There was a time when I actually watched true crime stories on TV. Before Nancy Grayson snapped, like a long time ago. I never really understood why I couldn't hear stories about women disappearing without feeling a strange ache in my chest. Not just because of the tragedy, but because deep down, I was starting to understand something I didn't quite realize yet. These stories felt eerily similar to my life. I remembered one in particular, a pregnant woman who disappeared on Christmas Eve. She was smiling in every photo they showed of her on the news. This girl next door, American sweetheart, living this picture perfect life. I'd say her life was Instagrammable, but this was before social media. Her husband, dark eyed, brooding, and emotionless, claimed to be looking for her while secretly whispering lies to another woman. When her body was later found, along with the body of her deceased baby, her husband was convicted of her murder. And even though the headlines painted it as this shocking, senseless act, I started to wonder, was it really so sudden for her? Or had there been signs she didn't or couldn't talk about? How could she have lived with the man who later murdered her and never suspect a thing? That story haunted me, not just because of what happened to her, but because I couldn't stop asking myself the terrifying questions I was too afraid to say out loud. Did she know she was in danger? Did she ever lie awake wondering if she had made a mistake? Did she wonder who it was she was married to behind all of the masks? Did she ever feel afraid of the man who promised to love her, protect her, provide for her? Did she ever wonder if her husband was capable of killing her? No one tells you how blurry the line is between emotional abuse and emotional murder, between subtle fear and soul deep terror, that inner knowing that eerily creeps at you, a mix of fear and dread. No one tells you that love can be laced with it, the dread that you can smile for pictures while quietly wondering if you'll survive the person that you're supposed to be safest with. Domestic violence is way more common than most people realize, especially the covert, hidden kind that no one really sees. In the US, about 4 in 10 women have experienced some form of abuse from a partner, whether that's physical violence, stalking, or sexual assault. And that's just what's been reported. Every year, thousands of women lose their lives to an intimate partner. That means every single day, women are dying at the hands of someone who claimed to love them. It's heartbreaking. And it's why conversations like this, books like this, matter so much. Because behind those numbers are real people, real women, real families. And far too many are still waiting for someone to tell them, you don't have to stay. You're not imagining it. And it's okay to choose yourself. And when realizing this for myself, I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I was trying to be honest for the first time. And as I began facing the truth that I was afraid, not just of him, but of leaving him, of who he would become when I left, I realized something that I couldn't unknow. My fear wasn't a red flag, it was a flare in the dark, an emergency signal telling me that something wasn't right. And yet, walking away still felt like standing at the edge of the world, toes curled over the ledge, heart pounding with the question, what if I don't survive this? But what I've learned, the thing I want you to know is you will. You can survive the fall. You can live without the chaos, the excuses, the fear masquerading as love, the gaslighting, manipulation, the love bombing that you know is not real. You can walk away scared and still be strong. You don't have to wait until it's bad enough. You don't have to become a headline to justify your pain. I don't want you to become a headline. You just have to believe that you're worth saving, even if you're the only one who sees it right now. Why leaving feels impossible. People talk about toxic relationships like there's something you can just walk away from. Like packing up and leaving is as simple as choosing a different route home. But when you're in it, really in it, leaving doesn't feel simple. It feels like trying to breathe underwater, like you're asking your body to betray everything it's come to know as safe. Even when it hurts, even when your soul is screaming, even when deep down you know this isn't love, it's survival. The truth is, your nervous system is loyal to what's familiar, not what's healthy. And if you've spent years, maybe even your whole life, walking on eggshells, downplaying your pain, and learning how to stay small to keep the peace, then of course leaving feels impossible. The longer you've stayed, the more days you've spent unknowingly training your body to see staying as safety, to see this person as not a prison, even when it's anything but that. And the fear is real. It's palpable. You can feel it. The fear of being alone, the fear of the regret, the what if you made a mistake, but fear that maybe you're the problem. And if you leave, you'll just ruin something that could have been fixed, that you didn't do enough. Fear that you're overreacting, that you're too much. Maybe it will get better, because what if you never find love again? Or even fear that leaving could be dangerous. What if I end up as a headline? But let me say something you might not hear enough. Your fear is not there because you're doing the wrong thing. The fear is there because you're human. It means you're alive. Of course, you're scared. You're doing something you've never done before. The fear has protected you up until now. But now it might be holding you hostage. Let's sit for that for a second without shame. Let's sit with that for a second without shame. You're allowed to be afraid. You're allowed to feel scared. You're allowed to have your doubts. And you are also allowed to want more than just not bad or okay or fine. You're allowed to crave peace, freedom, safety that doesn't come with conditions, love that feels true and real. Because it's not a mistake to want a life that feels like a home instead of a hostage situation. Confronting your discomfort. You don't have to explain any of the million reasons why it's hard for you to leave. I already know. You've probably explained them 100 times anyway, ruminating on them through them, ruminating on them in your head over and over, venting to your friends, to your therapist, to yourself in the shower, or at 2 a.m. when the house is quiet, but your mind won't shut the fuck up. Maybe you've even started saying them out loud, like you're trying to convince yourself that they actually make sense. But you don't need a perfect explanation. You don't need the right words to be able to justify your pain. You just need to tell yourself the truth. And it's only become uncomfortable because it's new, not because it's wrong, not because you're doing the wrong thing or you're broken or weak. Your body has just gotten used to this perpetual chaos that you've been living in. It's been living on the edge. Of course, peace would feel foreign. Of course, freedom feels terrifying. Your nervous system isn't used to you running the shots. It's not used to you trusting yourself or resting. It's used to survival mode, strategy, the constant hunt for safety. You're used to making it through the day without setting off the next explosion. Tiptoeing through a battlefield has caused you to lose your identity. Like betraying who you were. Because for so long, you've been defined by how well you could adapt and overcome the pain that you've had to endure. Who even are you when you stop performing for someone else's comfort? You say you're a born people pleaser, but you know now that that was just an adaptation to your trauma. When you stop twisting yourself into someone more lovable, more agreeable, more easy to deal with, what is left? This is where I want to remind you. Your knowing, your deep, sacred truth has always been there, steadily, quietly waiting. That pit in your stomach, that twisting, the knots that you feel, the bottom that bottoms out when the moment that your heart dropped during another one of your fights, that part of you that flinched when they walked into the room a little too fast, the tightness that happened when they slammed the door a little too loud. That wasn't weakness. That was your wisdom. That was your body telling you the truth. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else but you. I want to repeat that. This doesn't have to make sense to anyone else but you. Let that be your new compass. Don't worry about if it makes sense to them. Don't worry about the way that it looks on paper. Not what's easiest to explain, just what feels true to you. That's where trust is built. Brick by brick. You don't need a crystal clear vision of the future or the perfect words to say to get things just right. You just need to trust in your gut, in that inner sacred knowing. You just need one brave step at a time in the direction toward yourself. And when fear pops up from time to time, and it will because you're human, you don't have to treat it as if it was a stop sign, a freight train screaming to a halt. You can treat it as if it was a little bitty check engine light. Fear says, hey, something is happening here. Not go back, just, hey, pay attention. So here's where I want you to try something with me. Grab your journal or a fresh note on your phone. We're going to revisit the oh shit list that you wrote back in chapter 1. Those worst case scenarios, things that have kept you up at night, and the panicked thoughts you've had like, what if I leave and everything falls apart? Or what if I regret this? Instead of just leaving those fears on the page, you're going to respond to each one with the most true and beautiful outcome you could imagine. What if it's not the disaster your brain thinks it could be? What if it's possibly your best decision yet? What if the most beautiful thing you can do is simply walk away? Tool. Revisiting the oh shit list. When I revisited my oh shit list, I answered each what if with a version of the truth that felt safe, secure, and actually doable. Number 1, he destroys my property became property can be replaced. Number 2, he makes my life a nightmare became I've already lived this nightmare with him before. He can create chaos, but he cannot control how I perceive it. I'm living the nightmare right now. I can reframe this into being something pleasurable and desirable. Number 3, he tells lies about me. That was actually somewhat laughable, as if he already hadn't been lying about me to others for years. It turned into, when this happens, I know that the people who truly matter already see through his lies. Now it's your turn to do the same. Go back to the list you made in chapter 1, the raw, unfiltered, biggest, deepest, worst case scenario, oh shit fears that you've been carrying. Read them like you're sitting with the wisest, most grounded version of yourself, not the panicked, spiraling, ruminating thoughts you, the one who's starting to feel solid in her truth. Answer each worst case scenario with the most true and beautiful outcome. What would it all look like if it worked out? Write out that scenario. For each what if, ask yourself, what's the kindest, most empowering way I can respond to this fear right now? And ultimately, you want to remind yourself with each and every one that you are safe, you are loved, and you have your own back. This isn't fake positivity or toxic black and white optimism. This is something true, something self-honoring, something that suits your story and reminds you that even if that fear came true, you are safe. You have tools, strength, and clarity to respond. You are loved and supported. This doesn't mean pretending that you're not afraid. This is meeting the fear head on. This is looking at it from a true and beautiful perspective. It means walking with your fear while still choosing to move toward yourself. Revisit your list and rewrite the endings, not as a way to erase what's hard, but as a way to remind yourself you are going to be okay. You have options, authority, and most of all, you've got your own back. Let your inner sage guide you. You're not trying to prove your fear wrong. You're just trying to prove that you're strong enough to keep going anyway. Remember, fear isn't a stop sign. It's a sign that you're about to change your life. My mentor said, to me, on the other side of fear is everything you've ever wanted. You've made it through this chapter, and let's be real, it was a heavy one, at least for me. This kind of emotional labor takes guts. It takes courage to face your fears head on, to look at all of the what ifs and still choose to trust yourself anyway, especially in a world that teaches you to do anything but that. You did that. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not all at once, but here you are. You showed up for yourself, and that counts for everything. So before you rush to the next thing, take a moment to come back to your body. Wrap your arms around yourself. Give yourself a giant squeeze. Let your breath soften. This work is not easy, and it's okay if it left you feeling a little tender, a little cracked open. That's what healing often looks like: messy, uncomfortable, and deeply beautiful. Please take care of yourself after doing this work. Drink some water, put your feet on the ground, watch something that makes you laugh, or listen to a song that reminds you of who you are. Let this be a reminder: you're not broken for being afraid. You're not weak for struggling. You're brave as hell for facing the fear and doing the work anyway. You are going to be okay. You're already on your way. About the author. Mindy Dean is a trauma-informed life coach, speaker, and storyteller who built a career as the safe space women came to when they couldn't hold it in anymore. For 23 years in her salon chair, mid-haircut, and mid-heartbreak. After spending over a decade in a toxic marriage, almost two, and surviving its unthinkable end, Mindy found her way back to herself, one messy, courageous, healing step at a time. Today, she's a voice she once needed. Honest, compassionate, and unafraid to say the hard things with softness. Through her writing, coaching, and online community, she helps all kinds of people unlearn their conditioning, rebuild their self-trust, and rewrite the stories they've been told about love, loyalty, and what they're allowed to want. Her debut book, 23 Ways to Leave, is a no bullshit roadmap for walking away from relationships, roles, and patterns that keep you small and finally choosing yourself. She lives in Texas with her children and her rescue critters, blasting empowerment anthems, drinking strong coffee, and helping women everywhere remember: you don't need permission to be free. You just need your own. And you are not the most broken one in the room. Far from it. Thank you. I didn't expect to cry at the end, but yeah, that was a really hard one. I for the last 4 years after my husband's suicide, I have been writing a memoir, and this book, 23 Ways to Leave, is a tidbit, condensed, bite-sized version of some of what's in the other book. And the chapter that this one is based on is called "This Shit is Hard to Talk About." So yeah, this shit is really hard to talk about, but it needs to be talked about. I see it so often. People being harmed at the hands of their partners. And I just pray that this helps change that. So thank you. Till next time. Love you, mean it.